Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 61. Hello, a croeso I podcast rhif 61. My name is Gareth Evans. I'm joined by Mr. Henry Self-Isolation Pro Now Cooper.
Yep,
how are you doing, Mr. Henry?
For a long old time. It's very warm in here already. We've only just started. I might be sweating through the shirt before long.
Tell me about it.
That's the worst part about this isolation is the weather outside is really, really nice at the moment, and it doesn't happen a lot in Britain. But there's nothing you can do. Get shouted at by the cops if you go to the park.
I mean, have you been out much? Have you been out for walks? Do you go out? I mean, do you get fresh air?
Walks a little bit, or even if it's just a trip to the shop, just to get exercise, because you got to do something. And I'm kind of a homebody anyway. Like, I'm up for going out, but I'm also quite content with my own self and my own thoughts. But the missus has been getting very restless.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I've got a decent sized garden. So if it is, sunny,
we don't have a garden.
outside.
We're on the top floor of a block of flats.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks. I would definitely be going for more walks than my. I wouldn't be breaking the isolation rules, obviously, but I might be going for a longer walk than usual. You know what I'm saying? But there we go. So we've been stuck in another week, and here we go. We're going to talk about games again. So what do we have on the agenda for today's podcast? So I'm going to be talking on the agenda. You got an agenda?
We'll get to the Last of Us stuff later. Don't worry.
So first up, we're going to be discussing an interesting article which has been published about Dying Light 2 and the state of the production of that game. Techland in trouble, maybe. A total mess, according to the article. I'll get to discussing it in just a short while. We're also discussing the censorship situation around The Last of Us. Now, The Last of Us is just not going away. This is a story that keeps on running and running. And I hate it. Let it be known that we are a spoiler-free channel here. We have never discussed any of the spoilers in The Last of Us. And I saw a comment on one of the other videos saying, I'm subscribed, I like you guys, but I just want to stay away from spoilers. Don't go in the comments. That's the scariest place. You're in the scariest place. We don't know the spoilers. I mean, I think I've had one, but we are totally spoiler-free, right? In terms of our content. So you are very safe to watch our content on The Last of Us Part 2 if you are sensitive to spoilers. And let that be known, right? So feel safe.
Just don't go near the comments.
Just don't go near the comments if you're scared of spoilers, because they're rife. I think I've been spoiled of two things, but I'm not going to discuss them. Discord questions after that. The triggered fanboy comment of the week, which we are calling this week the Hoity Toity comment of the week, because that's the expression that Henry used when he describes it. The Hoity Toity.
Hopefully you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah, it's a peach. And then after that, some YouTube comments of the week, and then the bad dad joke of the week after that. So that's the running order. You can find the timestamps in the description if you want to jump to the Hoity Toity comment of the week and then come back to this, because everyone's excited about the Hoity Toity comment of the week now. And I just keep saying Hoity Toity because it's awesome. And so first, and without much further ado, let's talk about the Dying Light 2 being a total mess. Now, it is a total mess. Chris Avalone's work his writing on the game is being undermined. Workers are unhappy. They're crunching. Apparently, there's been last-minute changes to the game, and some devs are saying the game won't even be released this year as promised. So that's
it's already been delayed, right?
Yeah, it was delayed until spring. There's no set date of release at the moment. It was delayed earlier in the year. They say spring, but it's a window rather than a release date now. But that's everything that the article will have you believe, and it's all kind of unsubstantiated, I guess. It's one report from one article which says that it's spoken to numerous inside sources, kind of like what Jason Schreier does. Now there's a void, I guess. Jason Schreier isn't about anymore. He's gone to greener pastures. So someone's got to do the hard work, right? But this isn't a Polish art. This is an article in the Polish outlet called Polski Game Dev. Now, this was brought to my attention by somebody who emailed me anonymously, doesn't want to be named. He said, this is the article, it's been Google translated, and I've corrected the parts where the meaning was lost of the original article. So somebody helpfully, thankfully, and I do appreciate the guy for emailing me, has pointed out the parts where the Google Translate just fell down, and he corrected it for me. So big thanks to the dude who wants to remain anonymous for... See, I've got my sources. I'm the Jason Schreier. You know what I mean? Pretty good gaming.
Step up to the plate.
That's it. Who needs Jason motherfucking Schreier? Anyway, so the article... it says a lot of things. So I'm going to read the very first part of the article, right, as translated. And it says, this gives you a bit of a taste of what it's about, right? There is a fucking total mess. Plot direction, gameplay direction, mechanics, fundamental rules change consistently. The morale is low because the bosses have absolutely no idea what they're doing. Disorganization at the highest level is embarrassing. It's still not known what this game should be. Other departments... A year before the premiere are worried about fixing bugs. We don't have a vertical slice. Now, all these words are coming from devs, apparently, who work at Techland. Now, we're going to discuss it, right? And this article is a prime example of the two sides to a story, right? There are two ways of looking at every situation. And that's what we try to do. We always try to get the objective, balanced view here on Pretty Good Gaming. And hopefully we can discuss it and come to some sort of kind of middle ground where we can make our own minds up and not just like take somebody's, whispers or rumors or whatever as gospel and then just everyone gets really upset about all that, okay? So bear that in mind. That's how the way we were approaching this. So what I'm saying here is just quotes from people who supposedly work in Techland. So that's a bit of an insight as to the tone of the article anyway. And one of the main issues is that Chris Avallone, who is the legendary writer that we all know of and love, who worked on many of the best RPGs who ever released, including Fallout New Vegas, which is one of my favorite games ever. The quote is from the article: he wrote the scenario and designed the world, coherent and consistent one at the beginning, but then the management started to interfere. Now, creative director Adrian Paiser Kizevsky and owner Pavel Marchevka are constantly meddling in Avallone's scenario. And then another quote: everyone's screwing with the story. Another quote: there is not much left of the story. In comments, the history, as in the lore, of Chris Avallone. So that is one of the main points. Like, Chris Avallone is this huge writer in games. He knows how to write a decent game and to make it like a decent, deep RPG story. But Techland are meddling with that, right? And what changes they're doing, this is what's in contention. Obviously, the devs who are quoted here don't like the changes that are being made. But Chris himself has gone on record to disagree. He says, I like working on Dying Light 2 and I like working with Techland. Of course, that we discussed individual elements of the project and of course that it changed during subsequent iterations. But this is a normal part of every creation process. And then quote from the article says the scriptwriter, he adds that he does not recall any conflict with Paiser, the creative director, and is proud of the plot. And then the quote from Chris continues, history is a key element of Dying Light 2. It's important for me and the team that it works out well. So this is the first point of contention where you can he said, she said type of thing, right? The devs saying Chris's original history, the lore, is being changed by the management at Techland. Game devs don't like it, but Chris says it's fine. That's a natural part of the iteration process of the game development. So is it just a natural part of development? Is it just management interfering? There's two ways to look at it, right?
Yeah, and I think this is another example which is just like specifically the Naughty Dog crunch thing, because a lot of people, when they saw that story, they jumped and went really, really hard on Naughty Dog, but I think we weren't as hard on them as a lot of others, because for our interpretation of the article was that a lot of people didn't mind the way they worked there. They didn't mind the constant grind and perfectionism. They enjoyed that, but some people really, really, really didn't like it, and that's why why it's a problem for them. And I think that's a similar thing here, because for some developers, they really, really don't like it. They don't like what is happening with Chris Avallone's work, regardless of whether or not he actually likes it. But then there's going to be others, including Chris, who are really up for it. So it's an interesting kind of world at the moment where this conversation about I guess just disparity within the development studio and kind of people not agreeing about everything, which is always going to happen in any creative project, but not agreeing to the point where it becomes newsworthy and breaks out as if it's this huge expose, but not necessarily everyone has a problem with that. I think it's really interesting that I don't really think has happened that much, and it's kind of happened all at once.
Yeah.
Or at least, I imagine it's been happening behind the scenes. We just haven't known about it in the public.
One of the key things from the article is that the creative director, Pizer, as he's known, what was his, Adrian Kisevsky, he is the one that comes around, walks around the offices, apparently, I'm just paraphrasing what was said in the article, and tells and comes up with ideas and tells people how it wants to be. So he's the dreamer, right? He comes around and tells people, I want it to be like that, I want it to be like that. And apparently he was the one that came up with the idea of parkour, because they did what was that? Dead Island, right? They did that, and then based on the gameplay of that, he's like, let's do some parkour. He was the visionary, you could call it, who came up with the idea of doing parkour in a zombie game, and that's what Dying Light turned into, right? So he's had these decent ideas in the past. Management really trust him, so he's the one going around on the shop floor where all the workers are doing their jobs, coming up with ideas, and the workers are like, well, I've just worked this. I need to change this now. I need to do something else. And maybe that's where a little bit of resentment comes from this guy, because he's the creative director. And people don't like that he's giving them extra work or whatever. You can see where maybe there's a bit of friction caused in that relationship there.
I think in a lot of places like that, if you've got your creative director can often be like a big dreamer, and it's like, I've got this amazing idea. Now you do it. Like, I'm not gonna do any work. I just think of it, and then I handle the business side of things. And then the actual developers are like, I mean, even if that sounds cool, that's gonna be really fucking hard to actualize.
Yeah. So it does sound to me like there is a lot of resentment from the sentiment in these quotes towards this creative director. So the article, I'll just brush over some of the other things said in the article. Now, apparently the turnover of staff at Techland is pretty high. 50 employees lost last year, and morale is low because of this creative director, Pizer. Again, unsubstantiated. This is just quotes. This is just their opinion. There's no vertical slice of the game, and that's a big thing. Now, a vertical slice is basically a playable demo where you can play for like half an hour. That usually game developer takes to like E3 or something, where people can get hands-on the game. And it's quite an important part of the process for gameplay development most of the time, because it gives development teams something to focus on. However, it can be considered a bit of a waste of time. Now, according to Jason Schreier in his book, Blood, Sweat and Pixels, not that I'm plugging his book at all, but he does go into detail about what vertical slice is and how a lot of energy can be diverted to making a playable slice of the game where it's complete from start to finish. And the focus is like taken away from actually completing the game, and it might end up taking longer to complete the game because you've spent so much time on this one piece, which isn't really representative, because we all know that game making is an iterative process, and the things that are in the vertical slice might not end up in the final game. Anyway, that being said, these people who've spoken to this person who wrote this article say it's a big thing there's no vertical slice. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just throwing my 2 cents in. Maybe that is just that they don't understand that they're just focused on getting the game finished rather than showing it off in a vertical slice at some sort of thing. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that thing. There's talk of crunch too, but there's talk of incentives as well, as you get a bonus depending on how much work's done. So it's not like unpaid crunch or anything. And again, unsubstantiated. There's no direct quotes. We're being made to work under these conditions. Crunch is just a word. You need to delve deep into what that actually means, and there's none of that in here. Talking of release, there are a few quotes from maybe 5 people, and I've picked out a couple of them. One says, quote, "We are a year before the premiere of the game," so not in 2020, according to that guy. Next one, "This year, there is no game." It's another quote. Two employees say that it won't come this year. And the third one says, "If it will be in 2020, then it will be near the end." Now, so there is also, I should mention before we move on, talks of a new game being in development at the studio, which is quite exciting for fans of the studio. However, it not coming this year is a bit of a sticking point, because it has been delayed and we don't have a definite time window. It's window spring 2020, If they push it towards the end of the year, they're competing with September. You've got Cyberpunk, and then it's the new console generation. The games then are almost obsolete because the new consoles are here, and you don't have a game on the new console. So it's a bit of a sticking point right now. So yeah, when do they release the game?
The original Dying Light is, I'm not even going to say underrated because everyone who plays it loves it, but I just don't think it's got enough broad appeal, because at first glance it does just look like another zombie game, but the parkour is some of the best in any game. It's got really good weapon system and crafting and upgrade. But this new one, Dying Light 2, is meant to, it's not just that. Again, they've said so back in E3's past, so who knows if it's actually still the way things are going, but they've said that it's meant to be like an adaptive world type thing. So there'll be a district of the city, because it's a huge open world, that's completely flooded. So if you drain that out to then activate a generator, a hydroelectric power thing, so then you give a different region power. Okay, awesome. But now that area that was flooded, you find out why it was flooded, and it's because there was like 1 million zombies in there, so which you now have to deal with. But you don't have to do that. That's just one path. So that sounds really interesting, as if like the world will respond, not just the story, but the world will respond to your choices, which means everyone's playthrough is going to be different. That sounds really cool, but it sounds very, very ambitious and quite difficult. So that's why I'm not really surprised to hear about developmental issues, because that is such a cool idea. So there's a reason it's hard to put into practice.
Yeah, and that touches on the ambition of the game, and maybe that's why we're seeing all these delays and issues. But the one thing to note is that this all comes from Techland employees, apparently. So if it is true, then it indicates at the very least there's an issue with communication between the lower level workers and the upper management, because they're not happy for whatever reason. And if they have been talking to these outlets, no matter what, no matter whether what they're saying is true or not, the fact that they're talking to these outlets or this outlet indicates some sort of discontent at the studio. So, you need to communicate really well to keep your employees happy, and that at the very least that indicates that isn't happening. However, senior PR manager at Techland, who's called Ola Sondej, she quickly shot down on Twitter some of the speculation. Now, she said there's also speculation that Techland's been bought out by Microsoft. That's what she's referring to in the first tweet here. She says, in case you guys wondered, Techland was not acquired by another publisher. We're still an independent studio and will deliver Dying Light 2 on PC, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. She continues, on that note, the translation of the Techland article floating around is totally inaccurate. And while I have your attention, development of Dying Light 2 is moving forward. The game is in good shape and in good hands, so worry not. It is coming. Right. One thing to note there, she says the translation is wrong. Okay? That isn't saying that the article's wrong. That it's very cleverly worded, and it's not a clear dismissal of some of the reports in the article, right?
And she works as the PR representative, so this is literally her job to find a way to talk your way around this stuff. I'm not saying I don't believe her, but it's literally her job to be able to do that.
Well, you could believe that the article, that the translation of the article is inaccurate, and still believe that what the article says is true. Because, I've read through the article, and I've read through the parts of the article that were mistranslated thanks to my source who contacted me and corrected some of the mistranslations. So I've read a version of this article that doesn't have any translation issues, right? And I've put to you today, in what I've just described to you, what it says in that article with the good translation. So with that said, that doesn't say anything. That doesn't dispute any of the claims in this article. All it says is that the translation that it's totally inaccurate. But the source itself, the actual Polish version, doesn't say anything about that. But this is my next point is kind of what you touched on a second ago. Is this symptomatic of like the sequel syndrome, I like to call it? So this studio having like a huge success with the first game, Dying Light, and so that they cook up this highly ambitious follow-up, they set such high expectations, and eventually with feature creep, and they want the game to be so good to not disappoint because the expectation is so high. it spirals out of control, and it ends up taking longer and longer. Delays, workplace issues ensue, that kind of problem. Do you think that's, obviously you touched on it before, you're kind of in that theory space yourself, yeah?
Yeah, that definitely sounds reasonable to me because, as I said, Dying Light 1, it's a successful game, but it's not like huge AAA out of this world successful. Everyone who has played it really likes, well, pretty much everyone. But, you know, it's still not, it's not a blockbuster really. So, but then going into a sequel, that's after having an established fan base, a really popular IP in terms of who played it. You then have to up everything for the sequel, and that's the time when it's like, right, well, now we can reach for the stars. Now we can aim for a blockbuster. So again, it's the ambitious thing, and I think you're absolutely right with it being a sequel syndrome, and it's something that happens with pretty much every game, even like any game that's currently got a sequel going, like The Last of Us. That's the popular one.
Dead too,
amazing game, incredible ending, and as soon as the sequel was announced, a lot of people kind of went, "Do we need it? Like the first one was so good, so tight. Do we even need the sequel?" So the sequel then has something to prove as well.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's with the expectation, and there's a lot of pressure on management, and you know, who knows what the relationship's like in reality between the staff and the management. But it is worth discussing these articles when they arise objectively, like we have done. We try to stay balanced between the 2 points of view, but. You know, because sometimes there is issues we don't know for certain. There might be issues within the workplace. There might be crunching. And us discussing it at least gives it a little bit of exposure where it gives the other developers who might be watching this. And if you are a Techland developer watching this and you want to reach out, by all means, confirm or deny what's been said, and we'll report it as best we can, as balanced as we can. Because it does do a service to those employees who are working under bad working conditions. We've seen it kind of improve in the past, where Jason Schreier's done an expose, and then, a year and a half later, he says that, working conditions are improving. So, it does do some service, but always take it with a pinch of salt, and, never believe anything enough to get angry on the internet. I think that's the way to look at it.
Just don't get angry on the internet. It seems like that's all anyone does. It's easy to get angry on the internet. I think that's it.
Yeah. So that was it. That's just my piece on Techland Dying Light 2. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it. I played maybe 10 hours of Dying Light, the original. I loved the fact that it's an RPG. I didn't play enough of it because I came at it late. But I am really excited for the next one because Chris Avalone's on board. Hopefully his history, lore, or his story is right and is intact when I get to play it. But that remains to be seen. How about yourself?
I'm absolutely going to play it. Dying Light's one of the best examples in my experience of me playing a demo to death and then buying the full version, because that demo, it was a really good vertical slice. It was an hour, and they gave you a mission, but you didn't have to do it. You could just go fuck up some zombies. I didn't even know there was a mission for the first few times I played it. I was like, I'm just killing zombies. Oh no, time's run out, but I wanted to go over there. Let's replay it, and I'll go over there. Yeah. So I'm absolutely going to get Dying Light 2 when it comes out.
There you go. Those are our thoughts. Leave your thoughts down in the comments if you have any, and let's move on to our next segment.
So this one, it's an evolving situation, as I'm sure you're aware, and it's a very unpleasant talking point these days, so watch out in the comments, not just for spoilers, but for people just being unpleasant. But The Last of Us 2 is a very, very, very touchy subject. As I'm sure most of you are aware, there was a huge leak, 2 weeks ago? A bunch of story stuff, bunch of cutscenes, bunch of gameplay, and even before that, there were crunch issues. The story at the time was that the leaker was a disgruntled employee, but now the narrative is that it's a hacker. A lot of people still don't believe that. Personally, I'm more inclined to believe people with sources than something with no sources. I can't verify those sources, not my sources, but I'm inclined to believe that personally. But there's been a big elephant in the room, which is the criticism of those stories, of the leaks and the content of the leak, and we haven't read them. We know a couple spoilers. I think I know like 4 things I wish I didn't know, basically. But people have been very, very, very critical of Naughty Dog's narrative choices, and some people have been talking about them in their videos completely fairly, justifiably, not using any of the leaked footage or imagery or whatever, but they've been getting false copyright strikes by Sony, or rather, what was their name? The representative of Sony, Muso TNT Limited. They're just like a digital rights company acting on behalf of Sony.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been quite, I think we've both been quite lenient on Naughty Dog during this whole thing, because we haven't seen the leaks, and because, at least in my opinion, I don't want to judge a game until I've played it. Like, some of the stuff I do know I am very, very hesitant about, but I'm still going to play the game. I'm still going to experience it as it was intended, because that's just the right way to do it. If you're making a huge judgment based on the leaks, I think that's just foolish. But censoring people and silencing legitimate criticism without breaking any of the rules is outrageous, and something I think Sony need to be taken to the mat for. There we go. Finally got that out. Because as I say, I've been quite lenient on them, because now I'm trying to. I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to talk about don't want to get all toxic and be like SJW's this or agenda's that. I don't care. I want to play a game. From what there probably is an agenda based on what I've seen and what I do know, but I don't care. I want to play the game. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it make it okay for you to start false flagging people. And in case you don't know, on YouTube, if you get one copyright strike on your video, that video's gone, and then you have to then appeal it, and it can take ages to get it back. But then if you get 3, YouTube themselves will shut down your account. They'll delete it. Gone forever. Poof. Game over, basically. So it's a very dangerous thing for a lot of people.
Let's make a distinction here, right? So if you had a version of the game now and you used to play the game right now on YouTube, that is all copyrighted content. It's not released. It's private. It's their digital asset, essentially. Yeah. And you're spoiling it, and you're causing them to have financial harm because people won't buy it or whatever from playing the game. Therefore, that's a breach of their copyright. So you can't do that, right? That you're playing their game wrong. However, just talking about what's in the game is not copyrighted, right? They can't own your opinion. They own the story, they own what's in the game, but you talking about it is not their not theirs. It's not their asset.
The footage is theirs, the images are theirs, the script, the actual text of the script and stuff like that, they are, as you say, copyrighted assets, and for all intents and purposes, they are stolen goods at this point, and you can't distribute stolen goods. Completely fine. They're allowed to strike all those. People are getting quite upset about the memes getting striked, and I'm like, if your meme features the copyrighted stuff, it should be struck, one of them, because again, you're distributing copyrighted products. However, if it's memes based on publicly available stuff, that's bullshit, and again, another breach of copyright law.
From my understanding of how these companies work, these digital rights companies, I've had a lot of, I've been on YouTube a long time. I've dealt with these digital rights company on the good side and the bad side. But from my understanding is that it's probably just a bunch of new recruits going around flagging everything. Now, this isn't Sony themselves. These aren't Sony employees. These are employees of a company who are employed by Sony, who Sony pay to go and do this work for them. So Muso TNT are the company who is at fault here, right? These are the ones that are going around misstriking this content. So they're the ones who should be accountable for this. And Sony should have a word with themselves as to what companies they're using, and maybe have a word with Muso TNT and maybe correct this, because it's their responsibility too, because they're employing this company. So there's basically they're being overzealous and they're claiming too much. We've seen this time and time again on YouTube, and we've seen it where there's pushback from creators, people coming together for that pushback. So I think that we shouldn't misdirect. This is just an oversight for Sony at the very worst. It's not Sony themselves saying, you're not allowed to talk about our game. It's Muso TNT who are the ones who are directly responsible, and Sony partially responsible indirectly. My opinion.
The more juicy conspiracy angle is that Sony has told them just to flag everything. But again, that's not necessarily true, because Muso are just... They're the ones actually doing it. But it is on Sony's orders, and we don't know how specific those orders are. But one thing that's kind of kept this situation going is there was a brand new trailer yesterday at that time of recording, which was Wednesday, I think. Yeah, Wednesday. And it's a good little trailer in terms of like showing off story. It sets the mood. It's very like brutal. It shows off. Yeah, in terms of story. In terms of gameplay, it's a fucking terrible trailer. It doesn't show a damn thing. It shows stuff which probably is gameplay, but there's no HUD or anything, so like who knows? And it's just, generic over-the-shoulder shots of Ellie shooting people. But Sony's official YouTube channels, I think it's PlayStation and PlayStation Europe, and then all the other subsidiaries, comments are disabled and likes and dislikes are disabled. Now, I totally get why comments are disabled, and I actually am in favor of this. I think that's a good thing because it's preventing spoilers. However, at the same time, it does mean you're silencing criticism. However, you can still go elsewhere and criticize the game. So I'm not going to say it's an infringement on your freedom of speech or anything like that, because it's not really.
God almighty.
Yeah.
If it was illegal to talk about it, then that's infringement. You can talk about it, just not on there. They are allowed for you not to walk into the house and diss them. That's their right.
Yeah. So I totally get that, and I'm in favor of not spoiling it for people, especially as most people won't care about this stuff. Most gamers, especially because it's a console game and consoles are notoriously more casual than the PC community or whatever, so there's a lot of people who won't be up to date on all the gaming news, won't be paying attention to Reddit or whatever. They'll just be like, here's a cool game, it's got zombies in it, I'll take that and I'll play it. They're just not going to care. You can say that perhaps they should care and they should research it, but they're not going to. That's the end of it. So these people coming in to see this trailer, it's like, oh, what's that game? Oh, that looks cool. Sony aren't going to want those innocent bystanders, if you want to call them that, to scroll to comments like, oh, see what people are saying, and then boom, have a spoiler just immediately. That's something I wouldn't want to happen to me, and I think is completely fair of Sony to disable comments for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think that, what they don't want is like misinformation and spoilers to be shared about the game in the comments, and that might tarnish the reputation of the game and the profitability of the game. They're a business at the end of the day. They want to try and protect their assets. So, yeah, I mean, I don't blame them for doing that at all. It's a business decision.
The likes dislike thing is a bit more dodgy, and again, I get it, because they would definitely get dislike bombed.
Loads
I mean,
of dislike.
IGN have uploaded the same trailer they usually do, and that's currently, at the time of writing, 45,000 likes to 34,000 dislikes. Now, it's still more in the like camp, but that's a lot of people going there solely to dislike it, especially since they can't do it on the normal video. It's a protest dislike rather, and I get it. I don't really agree with that sort of thing, because I think it's just a bit overzealous, but I can't be asked to deal with that. But disabling the likes and dislikes on Sony's one, I feel like that just gives people more ammunition. Just it's similar with the comments thing, but I think the comments is a bit more justifiable.
Yeah,
more ammunition for people to get mad about them.
I think if you watch a video and you've not been subjected to any of these issues, right? And you watch that trailer and you see that there's a ton of dislikes on the official Sony trailer. It raises questions. You can go then search, and then you're like, oh shit, it's about this. Again, your impression of the game is changed by by what are spoilers essentially. I mean, and you don't get that same experience as you would had the spoilers not have come. I can totally understand them doing this too. In my opinion, I think anything that raises questions or piques people's interest. You think about the one of the worst or most disliked trailers in history was the Call of Duty Modern Warfare one. Had millions of dislikes, right? Obviously, people are like, why is it being disliked? And then they find out, oh yeah, boots on the ground, not my card or whatever. And then you're subject to the story. It's a bit of a different situation with this. People are disliking it because they don't like the creative choices that the team has made before even playing the game. So again, it's up to Sony. I don't blame them for doing this because again, it just protects them that little bit more.
There's some major stuff I've been seeing in comments which I keep wanting to engage with because it's a spoiler I know, unfortunately, and it's unavoidable. But that specific thing is going to be probably the major talking point going forward, unless there's other huge things that happen in the game. But talking about Last of Us right now is really, really unpleasant because loads of people are just being super aggressive about it in either direction. Generally, it's the more negative ones, but some of the more positive ones are being just as bad. But in my mind, as soon as you start talking about, oh, they're trying to push the agenda in this game, don't buy this game, they're pushing an agenda, you saying that is pushing your agenda. I don't think a lot of people seem to realise the hypocrisy of that. And I do, as I said, I do agree. It's been quite clear from the beginning of, well, maybe not from the beginning, but from that gameplay trailer which showed off Ellie kissing the girl, that it's got a certain political angle, and fundamentally a lot of people aren't going to like that, which is they're well within their rights to do. But it's been quite clear that they do have some sort of agenda in that regard. That's not a problem for me personally. I don't care, because if you want to have the most left-wing video game in the world, I don't care. If it's a good game and it's fun to play, I'll play it, because I can detach myself from that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anytime. Same with like Star Wars, when they who was the purple-haired woman? She's really obviously there to be the feminist thing. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, she's a bad character. That's why I don't like her. I don't dislike her because she's got red hair, purple hair rather. I'm like, I can see through the bullshit and just be like, all right, whatever. She's badly written.
You know, call me old school, call me a simpleton, call me a fool, call me an idiot, whatever, right? I just want to play the game. I just want to get the game on my console and play it from start to finish and then make my mind up. I mean, obviously...
Even if you don't like it.
Obviously, I'm ignorant. Obviously, I'm a fool. Obviously, I'm a fucking idiot. I want to make my mind up when I play the game. I apologize for all those things. I don't... I'm not validating any agenda or anything. I just want to play a fucking video game. It's that simple. I just want to go to my roots and sit down and enjoy a video game. Or not enjoy it, whatever. I just lose all sense of I don't know what this world is coming to sometimes. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I just want to play the game.
We've been critical of him in the past, but I actually think Yong Ye's done a pretty good job of covering this story, the unraveling of leaks and stuff, in terms of specifically with the hacker thing, because he put a video up. It's when last I looked, it had like 60% likes to dislikes, which is pretty severe. And his top comment was him being like, "Look, it's not my job to tell you what you want to hear. It's to report the news and do that." And I was actually quite impressed, because we've been critical of him before. I don't dislike the guy or anything, but some of his stuff's not to my taste. But there's a lot of YouTube channels out there. There's one guy in particular who's got like 10 videos on exactly the same thing within the space of a week. It's the same fucking thumbnail every time with the stupid like faces or the you know what I mean? We've all seen them. Face. Yeah, YouTube React face. But it's the same picture. He's not even retaking it. It's just the same. Regardless of your opinion on it, that's just bad content. It's bad content. In my mind, I don't like that sort of thing, but a lot of people do. So
in your objective opinion there, Henry, in your objective opinion.
agenda.
Yeah. And talking about Yongye, we don't dislike him. I mean, we've been critical in the past because I think he's got a responsibility which he didn't uphold on one specific occasion. But in the general, like 99% of his content is really, really good. And I want that to be said. Look, we've been targeted by a lot of Yongye fans in the past. Oh, you hate him, you're just hating this and that. We don't hate him. We just want the news to be reported correctly and objectively, and don't try and clickbait on false information and then not correct yourself. I mean, that's it's just simple. That's all I want. I'm an idealist. That's my problem. I want things to be right. But anyway, there you go. Is that the end of this discussion now? Can we put this to bed?
I hope so, and I hope it's all fucking quiet for The Last of Us. I want a new gameplay trailer. I want an extended, uncut, unfucking bullshitified gameplay thing.
I don't want anything. I just want to play the game.
But at the same time, I don't want it because then it's going to open up the can of worms again. So I'd also be happy if they just stuck their heads down, go home because the game's finished, and just let it be.
When it comes to like movies or games or something that I'm already invested in and I want to play or want to watch, I'm already made that decision. I don't want trailers. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. Like Cyberpunk, don't tell me anything more. I want to experience it firsthand. I hate...
You're already convinced.
Yeah, I'm already buying the game, so the trailer isn't for me, right? It's trailers for people who haven't decided whether to buy the game yet or not. So all a trailer is, especially with movies, is spoilers. Like, that's all a trailer is. So I go into the movie knowing half the best scenes and half the best jokes a lot of the time too, and thinking, I should have experienced this as it was made, but that's just the way I am. I'm already made a decision. I want to play the game right now. I don't want anything. I'm a big fan already. Want to play the game, but I know that. That's my bias. There we go.
Yep. I wish I could be like that, but I know I will watch every trailer that comes out.
Yeah. But there you go. Let's move on. So we're going to move on next to the Discord or the Patreon questions. And the Patreon is our crowdfunding platform, patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, where people, very generous people in the community, come and support us on a monthly basis to help us keep continuing these videos, because without them we really would not be able to continue. So every week we read out the new contributors and the new pledges. So this week we have 4 or 3 and an increase. So Commander Redbush has pledged $5. Thank you very much, dude. Daniel Kornar has pledged $1. Thank you very much to you too. We really appreciate it. Saminda Niroshan, $1 too. We really appreciate it, even if it's $1. You know what I mean? Every single dollar really, really helps. And if everybody who appreciated our content donated $1, we wouldn't need to ask anybody else, because we would be able to cover the bills essentially. So every dollar helps. Don't think that it's only $1. Yeah, everything is better than 0. Can I say that? And next up, William Strack increased his pledge from $1 to $10. MVP, Mr. William Strack. Thank you very, very much, dude. We appreciate that, and that's a salute for all of you this week. So, one of the benefits of being a patron is being allowed access to the VIP area on the Discord. You can come into the Discord if you're a non-patron subscriber, by the way. If you're a civilian, if you're a civvy, there's a link in the description now. You can come to the public area of our Discord. You're very welcome to come. But one of the rewards for being a patron is that you get access to the patron-only area on Discord, and you get to ask us questions on the podcast. Now, this is what the next segment of this podcast is. These are the Patreon questions. And without much further ado, trying to work out now, if I read this, then you read the quiz. I'll read the first one. And this is the Game of the Ages from That Rob Lowe. So every single week, we answer what was our favorite game from the year of our birth +1 every week. I'm up to 2010 now because I'm an old bastard. So we're doing this 30 weeks now. So my favorite game from 2010. So I researched this. I typed in 2010 games. First one to pop up, Mass Effect 2. Yeah, that's my choice, Mass Effect 2. And then I scrolled across one thumbnail, Red Dead Redemption. It's like, obviously it's going to be Red Dead Redemption. And then I looked across the very next thumbnail, Fallout New Vegas. I'm like, embarrassment of riches. There is no better than Fallout New Vegas. I've already mentioned it. Chris Avalone's writing at his best. That's it. There's like 3 tiers there. And I think Red Dead Redemption is so close. But Fallout New Vegas is the answer. That's my favorite game in 2010. It's the one I played the most. It's the one I've had most enjoyment out of, and it's my favorite Fallout game, if not one of my favorite games of all time. So
it's great when those things happen, when it's just the correct answer falls at your feet. Yeah. That hasn't happened for me this time, but I've run out of games because I'm a young whippersnapper. So I've had to move on to films and start again. So now I'm up to 2000 in terms of films, and there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of not so good ones, but the list of ones I've got here are Gladiator, Requiem for a Dream, X-Men, Snatch, and Snatch is almost going to take it, but it's not quite. Scary Movie, because it's a stupid film. Unbreakable, The Beach, which everyone hated, but I really liked. The Grinch, and Pitch Black. And the obvious answer is Chicken Run. The obvious answer is Chicken Run, because it's the best film ever. It's not Chicken Run. I do love Chicken Run, but it's not Chicken Run. The correct answer is American Psycho. I fucking love American Psycho. Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors. It's incredible. It's really weird. It's one of those films where, when you hear film details and you think, oh, I already knew all that. Every time there's a new detail about American Psycho, I had no idea, because there's so many little things. Like one I learned the other day. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a bit where Christian Bale's character Patrick Bateman, he's being not quite interrogated, more interviewed by Willem Dafoe's character, who's a police officer. The director, she told Willem Dafoe to play it 3 times in 3 different ways. Obviously, they'll do multiple takes and stuff, but it did it in 3 different ways. First is he absolutely knows that Patrick Bateman is a killer. 1, he thinks he definitely isn't a killer, and 1, he's not quite sure. And then in editing, they splice together different bits from each take and each version to give a really weird, uncertain feel to the viewer. And I'm like, that's exactly what you feel, but you don't know it. And I think it's an amazing piece of editing and using film to tell a story like that really specifically.
That's brilliant. That's a nice fact. Thanks for sharing that, Henry.
Good little
Maybe
fun
we should do
fact,
a movie podcast with Henry Cooper. Henry movie.
It wouldn't be a whole
Cooper,
podcast. It'd just be like, here's a single fun fact per week.
Is Henry gushing about one of his favorite films? Thanks for the question, Mr. Not That Rob Lowe. We'll move on to the next question.
Okay, this is from Rage Andy Kid. Gears Tactics realizes, I assume you mean releases, and is surprisingly good. What other games do you think would do well in a similar setting of strategy? And then there's another question after that. Gears Tactics. Gears was traditionally over-the-shoulder third-person cover shooter, but Gears Tactics switched it up into a turn-based tactical XCOM-like shooter. So what other games could receive that similar sort of treatment?
I mean, I think all cover shooters are a good candidate. And the one that kind of sticks out to me, and we were talking about it Last of Us, bit of a crazy off-the-wall suggestion, but having Joel as one of the units and Ellie as one of the units, I mean, that could work. I mean, zombies coming at you. I mean, it could work, right? It'd be interesting. I'd definitely play the shit out of that.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't know specifically strategy, because Gears of War was always my go-to for that sort of thing. I think something like a shooter like that, maybe like a Resident Evil, because you've similar to The Last of Us, but in the sense you've got all of these different zombie types. And I know they've done Project Resistance, which has it's the multiplayer thing where you can drop in different zombie creatures and whatnot. But if you had that as a tactical game, essentially like a chess game, which is kind of what XCOM is, because you have different pieces with different abilities and whatnot. If you had that against zombies, I think that could be really cool, especially if you could find a way to still keep it scary, which I think is the hard part of any sort of turn-based game like that.
So the other part of the question?
Anywho, let's find the other part. Sorry, my computer's not really cooperating with me. It's been a bit slow. Okay, also, my other question is, you can take a holiday in any game world. Where do you holiday? I think we've had this one sometime in the past, but a lot of game worlds are really unpleasant. They're radioactive or an apocalypse or something. I don't know. Where's a good one to go on holiday? Probably the easy answer is to holiday in No Man's Sky, because then you've got infinite planets to find the right one.
Yeah, a bit empty, I guess. But I think one game world, I know it's not been released yet, but I would say Cyberpunk would be awesome. The Cyberpunk world looks super awesome.
That'd be cool, but only if you're on the right side of it. Because you could end up getting ruined by some horrendous corporation.
Yeah, I guess it is a holiday, so you want like a beach, you want warm weather, don't you? So
possibly. I think I've said it before, but I'd quite like to live in the Horizon world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dangerous with all the robots going around, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Life is kind of simple, right? Life is kind of simple.
You're living off the land and kind of back to basics.
There you go. I mean, I think it'd be cool, like China Red Dead Redemption type of holiday, you know, like Westworld. Essentially, put me in Westworld. That'd be cool. That'd be an interesting one at the very least. And then you can come away. Just go around shooting people, you know, robbing, you know, being a mugger, you know, a highwayman, and then just turn around and go home. I mean, sounds like fun to me.
Or just go fishing for hours, because that's so much fucking fun. I fucking hate the fishing missions.
You could do that. So thanks for your question, Mr. Rage Andy Kid. Let's move on to Metalviking's question. Do you think that games miss out on using music that fits the time period? Hurts the game overall? Like seeing Assassin's Creed Ragnarok's trailer would have been even more badass in my opinion if they used Nordic music, especially with the recent influx of bands coming out in the past few years who specifically do that type of music. Skald, Heilung, Wardruna, etc. The new Hellblade by Ninja Theory looks awesome. That's the one I was thinking of. But the animalistic pagan feel that it gives off in the trailer from the music by the aforementioned band Heilung just makes it even more awesome in my opinion. Does the music used change your overall opinion in the game? In instances like Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, Hellblade, and the weird rap music trailer from Doom Eternal, that's the other one that sprung to mind, which would have been that should have been metal. It does for me. Absolutely, Metalviking. Absolutely. Yep. That Ninja Theory, that's such a great point. Ninja Theory trailer for Hellblade 2 was amazing. It's just amazing, right? You remember it, right? It's impactful, right? Because of the music and because of what it is. I don't even remember what the Assassin's Creed Ragnarok music is. And the only reason I remember the Doom Eternal trailer was because it just didn't fit. And it was
so
shite.
Bad. So bad. Yeah, you're absolutely right on the music thing. I like music in games a lot. And I think Red Dead Redemption, the first one, generally that was more in like time appropriate, I think. I mean, they as using instruments that were available in the Wild West, so it's all just banjos and what's the tiny pianos with no
harpsichord.
Harpsichord. Harpsichord. But then I think in Red Dead Redemption 2 they took a few more liberties, and you could hear more modern instruments like electric guitars that were definitely in there. Not like ridiculous solos or anything, but you know, slightly different. And I think in that case it worked pretty well. But you're absolutely right. The Hellblade way of having it done like that always works better. The Assassin's Creed trailer, I mean, I'm up for the Viking setting, and what's got me interested in that game isn't that trailer, it's what the developers have said afterwards. The trailer's a CG trailer, doesn't fucking show you anything. And it's one of the most trailer-looking trailers I've ever seen.
Trailer.
It's cool. It's a good little short film type thing with dramatic camera angles and all that. But if it had Hellblade's music, I would have been way more up for it.
Yeah.
Although at the time of recording, there should be, well, later today, time of recording, there should be the Inside Xbox event, I think it is, where Assassin's Creed's meant to be getting some gameplay. So I'm sure you have actually seen that if you're watching this now.
That is going to be very
but we haven't
interesting.
yet.
That definitely is going to be very interesting to see that gameplay. And talking about the music for the original Red Dead Redemption game, it reminded me of how good the music was in, I'm going to mention it again, Westworld. Remember on the piano, like Radiohead's No Surprises? Like there's one thing that stuck in my head, like on the piano in the saloon. It's like the old on the older instruments that they used to have in the saloons, just playing a modern pop song, ding 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 ding, no alarms and no. It's just like that is just an awesome. I don't know why I mentioned that. Maybe they could do that. Maybe be creative with your music for these trailers. For God's sake, stop sticking rap music on the thrash metal game. For God's sake,
there are some games that would call for it, like a GTA, because that's often sort of got gangstery themes and that fits with the rap community, so a lot of that's about that sort of thing, but not in a fucking game about killing demons. It doesn't work. Although you can use modern music very effectively despite the time period. I've started watching Peaky Blinders with my girlfriend. I've started watching it 4 times, awesome, and every time I watch the first episode I'm like, oh, this is really good, and then I just never end up carrying on. But we're watching it now.
Gets better and better, that show.
3rd episode of series 2, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they use a lot of contemporary music in that, rather than music from, it's set in like the 20s, right? Something like that, like 30s, 20s. So they use a lot of contemporary music, like Arctic Monkeys came on yesterday, and I was like, oh, this is a really good song. And the theme tune is from, I think it's from the 70s. I looked it up, and that works because it's going for a vibe, and that shows very. It's not going for absolute historical accuracy. It's going for a lot of style, like especially in the way it's shot, and there's ash everywhere. It's smoggy and all that shit. So it can be done well, but a lot of the times it's just use whatever pop song you have to get some cross promotion in, and you can see right through it.
I think it's symptomatic of a marketing department who just aren't in touch with the gamers. And Assassin's Creed, AAA game, Doom, AAA game, whereas Hellblade, it's a lower tier game, AA game you could call it, right? So it might be the creators who make the decision to do with the music and that, whereas it's just marketing departments. It's like, which music is going to appeal to the most amount of people? Let's use this rap music on this heavy metal game. That'll be a good idea, right? Yeah, just out of touch with reality.
I really wouldn't be surprised if at the Ubisoft marketing team they just Googled Viking music and picked whatever song came up.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for your question, Mr. Metalviking. Next, we have a quiz, right?
Okay, here we go. Quiz time. Let me just quickly get it up. I don't have it ready to go, and I absolutely should have. Hold on,
I'll read out. So Metal Shark every week pretty much asks us, gives us a quiz. So his he says this week, a quiz for Gaz, as Henry strangely didn't want another week, so you did 2 in a row, and unfortunately he didn't want a third. So yeah, I've got a quiz this week. I don't know the answers to this. Let's see how I go.
Okay. Here we ask you, is it a freeware game you can download and play right now, or is it a fish? A freeware game or a fish? Okay. So the first one is Discus. Discus.
Well, Discus.
D-I-S-C-U-S.
Well, Discus is the plugin I use on my website, GoliathGuitarTutorials.com. If you want to learn some fingerstyle guitar lessons.
That's what I call a plug-in.
Plug-in, get it? It's a plugin that you put for like comments on the bottom of your webpage. So I know it's an app that you can plug into your website. But did they get it from a fish or a what? What's
or
the
a
other
freeware
option?
Game specifically. It doesn't say software, just game.
Discuss. See, that's why it's good for a discussion, because it's discuss. It has to be a game. It can't be a fish. Discuss.
You're going for a game? I have absolutely no idea, so let's find out. Oh, hold on. This is a fish native to the Amazon River Basin. I mean, again, you can't work them out. You've just sort of got to guess most of the time. All right, next one is...
Metal Shark just likes to see us squirm.
He does.
He just likes to see us squirm.
Next one is Elona. E-L-O-N-A.
Yeah.
Elona.
That's a game. Definitely a game.
You know it's a game? Definitely a game? Freeware, a roguelike RPG with a touch of anime. Okay, awesome. So that's, 1 out of 2?
1 out of 2.
So 50% so far. Liero, or Liero, Liero.
Liero sounds kind of Latin. I'm going to go for a fish.
Go for a fish. Freeware game, a real-time version of Worms.
Great.
Okay, next one is Live Bearer.
Live Bearer. That sounds like
Bearer.
that sounds like a name that someone would give to a fish. Because when these animals are named, it's like, oh, let me just start this again. Usually, they're named by a trait or an appearance that they have. So a fish might be it might bear live. It's a live bearer. Look, it bears the life. So using that logic, this is definitely a fish.
Yeah, okay, let's go for a fish. It is a fish. Retain the eggs inside the body and gives birth to live, free-swimming young. Oh, so it doesn't
actually
lay the
worked.
eggs like traditional... yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean,
logic worked.
You get the Latin name, it's probably going to be the most absurd thing ever that no one can say, but Live Bearer. You're right. Okay, next one is Notrium. Notrium. Notrium.
Notrium.
I'd say Notrium.
Notrium. I'm going to go for a game.
Go for a game? All right, let's have a look. Freeware, a real-time single-player survival game using alien tech.
3 out of 5 if I'm not wrong.
Live Bearer, Notrium, and Alona. Yeah, so that's 3. Next one is Rocket Danio.
Rocket Danio. That has to be a game. Rocket Danio.
Yeah, it's got to be a game, right? Sounds like a game. No, it's a fish. The most obvious sounding one is a fish. Has an exceptional ability for jumping.
Of course it does.
There you go. Right, next one. Slime Head.
Slime Head. Oh, God. Using my logic,
again,
this could be either.
Yeah, again, based on your literal description of a fish.
It could be a fish with a slimy head. Or it could
but video games love gross stuff like slime.
Fish with a head. I'm going to go for a game. Fuck it. Game.
Fish, small, exceptionally long-lived deep-sea fish.
With a slimy head,
so that description
obviously
has nothing to do with the slimy head.
3 out of 7.
Okay, next one. Soldat.
It's got to be a game. I've done the game 3 times in a row. It's got to be a game by now.
I think that's a game because isn't that Russian for soldier or one of the Eastern Europeans languages?
Of course it is.
Yes, Henry. It's Freeware, a side view multiplayer action game. See, there you go. You can figure that one out. Next up is Tinker.
Tinker's a fish. Tinker's a fish.
Nope. Freeware, a control a robot through various mazes and obstacle courses.
I'm no better than just 50. I'm just guess. I could just be guessing, right? 4 out of 9 so far. If I get this one right, then I'm no better than just guessing anyway, right? 50. You're going to get half of them right if you guess anyway. All right, let's do it.
All right, final one is Vendace.
It's going to be a game because I've said game.
It's going to be a game. Nope, it's a fish eaten as part of Ashkenazi Jewish cuisine.
Well, there you go. I got 4 out of 10. I'm deeply humiliated, and thank you for this experience, Metal Shock. We really appreciate these quizzes. They're the best.
Feeling intellectually inept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for that feeling, Metal Shock. So there we have it. Thanks. Let's move on. Superflea. The return of Superflea. He comes to ask 3 questions in one. He's been saving them up. Which enemy or boss did you enjoy fighting the most and why? Boss, man. What's your favourite boss?
That's a good question. There's been a lot of good bosses. There's been a lot of bad bosses. The first one that springs to my head, I didn't enjoy fighting, but I enjoyed beating, was the Valkyrie Queen in God of War on New Game Plus with no HUD. Because I felt like I had to give myself extra challenges for that fucking fight. She was really, really hard. And I've said it before, the reason I'm happy I beat her because I knew I beat her because I was the best. Because I knew all of her moves. But I don't think I enjoyed fighting her that much. One of my... it's probably quite a popular answer, but the boss I really, really liked fighting is Mr. Freeze in Batman Arkham City, I think it is, because he's really, really adaptive. You've got all of these abilities to take him out. You can drop down on him, you can get him from below, you can just punch him really hard, but every time you do that, he adapts. You can't use the same technique again. You've got to keep adapting. So like if you drop down from a gargoyle to attack him, that'll do damage once, and then immediately after he'll get up and he'll freeze the gargoyle, so you then can't use it anymore. So I thought that was really good and easily the best boss fight in any of the Arkham games, and I love all of them. But yeah, it's a great boss
cool.
fight.
Thanks for the answer. I'm not going to answer that because I don't really have a decent answer. I can say which is the worst boss fight. Would be the end of Red Dead Redemption, where you've got the firing squad. That's the worst boss fight.
Yeah, the no win scenario.
Yeah. Let's move on to your second question. From what's happening with the past games from Bethesda, do you think we should be worried about Starfield because they're keeping the same engine? Absolutely.
One of many reasons to be worried about Starfield.
Yeah. Keeping the same engine. One thing they always say to Bethesda is that, yes, it's the same engine, but we've changed these bits. An engine is just a collection of software, right? We've improved this part of the software. We've improved that. We've improved. It's an iteration. Like this thing's been improving over all these years. The games are still going to look dated. The character models are still going to look shit.
They're still going to be janky as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. There's still going to be bugs caused by the code. That just that no matter what platform you play the game on, it's going to have the same bugs because of that. Are we worried? Yes, absolutely. I take anything with a pinch of salt now from Bethesda. Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, whatever. Wait and see approach. Not excited for the games. That's just how it is now with Bethesda.
I'm not even sure I'd say I'm worried because I'm past that. Like, I'd be worried if I was anticipating it, but I'm not anticipating it anymore, so I'm not worried.
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Exactly.
All right, so the third part of the question. With the resurgence of turn-based RTSs like XCOM and Gears Tactics, do you think games like Full Spectrum Warrior or old Final Fantasy could make a comeback? Well, anything can make a comeback, right? I mean, in this day and age with remakes and reimaginings of games, I don't think there's any reason why we should rule out these games. Absolutely.
I think a lot of turn-based games from back in the day, they exist partially because of limitations of the time. So a lot of developers feel like, we've moved past that. Now we can do everything in real time. We will. However, a lot of players have grown attached to the turn-based formula and the strategy formula, like in XCOM. So it does absolutely have its place in the market. I'm just not sure how many developers want to make that sort of thing because we've generally seen a trend away from it. I absolutely think that there is room for them to come back. And I think they should come back because the turn-based genre, it barely exists anymore outside of stuff like JRPGs. But yeah, I'd like to see more XCOM-like games because I really enjoyed XCOM 2. I know you hated it. And I'm looking forward to playing Gears Tactics. But I want more. I want more.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I started playing the John Wick one, John Wick Hex, and I couldn't deal with it. Not because it was super hard. It wasn't clicking with me at all. I played for maybe an hour and a half, and I was just like, I could push through and play more and get more, accurate impressions. Yeah. But I'm not enjoying it. I don't feel like John Wick. It's not for me. It's not for me.
I don't feel like John Wick. God damn it! When you make a game where I feel like John Wick, won't you? What's this imposter
on the box? Yeah. I'm just walking around doing stuff. The point is that once you go through the level and you play it sort of turn based, but it's not so much turn based as it is. There's a time mechanic, and every move you do takes time. It's a depletable resource.
Yeah.
And you've got to then execute your enemies and whatnot. And then once you get through it, you can watch it back through.
Full speed,
as like a real-time thing, and it goes through as like a short film. But even those, it's not John Wick efficient. It's me bobbing and hiding behind stuff to not get shot, and then standing there waiting, and because a wait is a mechanic, waiting for them to come and to get. It's not. I don't think it's that fun.
Yeah. Oh well, you're allowed your opinion. Thanks for the questions, Mr. Superflea. Let's move on to Earthworm Ben.
Okay. Right. Earthworm Ben. I didn't renew my PS Plus after it ran out this year. For me, the price per quality has really dropped, but something I never considered is that Sony essentially are marketing this as they're giving you £80 to £100 worth of a month of free games. Right, okay. However, what's your take on this? Considering you lose access to the games as soon as your membership is up, to me that has enough money for multiple consoles or PC and console. This has essentially just relegated Sony to be another exclusive machine like the PS3, and I'm back onto PC where the same price gets me access to a library of games on Xbox Game Pass. So, sorry for the long question. It just seems like console gamers get the short end of the stick just to play a game online. Absolutely, you shouldn't have to pay to play a game online because you pay often, £60 or $60, whatever. It's a lot of money for one thing, which is, if you boil it down to its bare parts and brass tacks, it's just entertainment. It's a toy, if you want to be reductive like that. And then having to pay for online to access, especially for a game like a Call of Duty or something where it's built specifically for online, you then have to pay over the odds to get it on consoles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely getting the raw end of the deal. And PS Plus has it got so much shit this month for doing Farming Simulator and City Skylines as the PS Plus games. And I get people that are annoyed because they're not simulator games aren't the most popular, and putting 2 simulator games in 1 month is a bit weird. But PS Plus, I think I still have it. I probably should delete it, but I still have it because I do usually play the free games if I think they're any good or I'm interested in them. But you get really good deals on PSN, and I sometimes play online, but I probably should delete it. Xbox Game Pass is so much better though. It's so much better.
Absolutely. I've never subscribed to I think I might have had a free month once for Xbox Online or whatever. But yeah, I think it's just a waste of time. You've already paid for the game, already paid for the internet. Why have I got to play for the game? Have to play the game on the internet again? Another payment. It's like bollocks. I've always been a PC gamer, and this is one of the reasons that really puts me off, especially with these new games that are like online content. You have to be online. You play with your friends. Our world is an online world. You've got to play like Ubisoft bullshit. No. I've already paid for the game. Don't force me to pay again to be able to play the game. It sounds like nonsense to me. And console players do get the shitty end of the stick, to coin a phrase. Thanks for your question, Mr. Earthworm Ban. Cloney next, and here comes an SMK. You'd hoped I'd run out of ideas? Out of girls? Ha! You haven't even met the master of recycling. And then he carries on. Thanks for the Discord members of our Patreon community over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Not for just being awesome people and supporting this here channel so I can continue to expose my love for video game characters to the public, but also for helping me out a week ago with a whole list of cool names and characters I barely even thought of anymore. This wouldn't be possible without some preparation. So if you like SMKs, hop over to Patreon where you can, for as low amount as $1, you can suggest your childhood masturbation fantasy for the next SMK. Or if you just want to tell me to fuck off, join us anyways and meet me in the general channels we now open for the public. That's my favourite part of the SMKs.
Some of these turn into group therapy for you, Cloney. This is your, hello, my name is Cloney and I'm a video game poon addict.
I like the way he always throws the plug in there for that. I really appreciate that. Anyways. Yeah. Here's this week's Shag, Marry, Kill, Revenge of the Redheads, Magic Fighter Edition. That is a big fucking title. Anyway, first up, Angela, originally an amalgamation of noble souls, coalesced into the heavenly fighter by the angels themselves in Image Comics' Spawn universe. She is now the sister of Thor and Loki and rocks the landscape of Marvel space with her badass one-liners. Second choice, Leilana, aka Sister Nightingale, Best Wife, trademark, or the left hand of the divine, the cunning and the skilled spy master and seneschal? How do you say that word? Seneschal? Of the Inquisition of Dragon Age fame. Seriously, she's been there from the start. And the final choice is Triss Merigold, we all know Trish, of Maribor, the legendary Temerian sorceress nicknamed the Fearless and the Witch in the Witcher series, making her totally the namesake of the series because that's how it works. She wields fireballs like other swords, making her the epitome of a hot redhead. So, Henry, what are your answers, dude?
I mean, the only one I know anything about is Triss, and I love Triss. I've been Team Triss the whole way through my plays of The Witcher 3. So Triss is getting the marry. I know nothing about the other two.
Just look at the pictures.
Think I'll... yeah, exactly. That's all it's going to be. I'll shag. What's the name? Angela. The first one. Because she looks like a pretty cool warrior chick, and Leliana, you're just a less good version of Angela, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Triss Merigold, obviously, I mean, she's the best in the game. She's the best in the TV series too. Got to be honest. I don't like what's the name, the dark-haired one. Don't like her in the TV series. I think she's a total bitch in the TV show. Got to be honest. Anyway, Angela, she's gonna get it, and then Liliana is gonna get the boot. Those are my answers. Thanks for your question, Cloney. Obviously, awesome. Thank you very much. Let's move on.
Okay, next one is MHVG 1994. Please correct me if MHVG is meant to be said as something funny, but
come on, get up with it.
Okay, I've been following you guys for a while, but haven't really interacted with you guys until now. A twist on the SMK formula. This will be a dabble, in inverted commas, addiction or abstain. Which video game drugs? Okay, here we go. Would you dabble with just once or twice for the experience, although the morning after won't be pretty? Take regularly. You need your fix. The benefits are constant, but weak. You endure severe side effects. Or abstain. You're no junkie, and if you keep having to tell your local drug dealer you're not interested, you'll be late for Bible study. Bear in mind that with addiction, you won't always be able to afford your usual dose. Your choices are the debut of dabble addiction or abstain. Joy from We Happy Few. Joy makes you feel absolutely spiffing. The day seems brighter and you've always got a smile on your face, although after a while you may not notice your vision becomes blurry, your memory fades, the tendons in your face become shorter from the lack of use, meaning any expression apart from the smile leaves you in agony. And you could have sworn that pinata candy tasted faintly of raw flesh. Okay. I've never played We Happy Few, but that's an interesting situation. Okay, next up, plasmids from Bioshock. I've got a little more experience from Bioshock. One injection of these and you'll never have to reach over to pick up the TV remote again. You can ice your own drinks, produce your own honey with the help of some friendly bee swarms, recharge your car battery without need of anyone else's assistance, and keep yourself warm during those dreary Welsh winters by generating your own fires. After all, who really cares about a mild case of psychosis when you can blast Jehovah's Witnesses away from your front door? All you really need to do is kill a few innocent little girls to become a real-life Superman.
Right.
Okay. That sounds... I'm not hearing a lot of bad things about that one. Jet from Fallout. Hallucinogenic, which heightens the nervous system, triggering a rush of energy and endorphins. Time seems to pass slowly. You are moving while everyone stands still. It's fun while it lasts, but in addition to the inevitable emotional crash, you seem to stumble into objects and fall over more than you used to. Personally, okay, so then we've got his personal choices. Oh, right.
There's a lot of drugs there.
There's a lot of drugs.
Come on, Henry the Junkie. Which ones are you going to go for?
I need my fix, man. I think I'd abstain from joy because... Oh, hold on. My camera's not cooperating. Okay. I'd abstain from joy because while feeling spiffing is pretty swell and seeing the day brighter is great, I don't want to start cannibalizing people based on the suggestion that pinata candy tasted like raw flesh, and I don't really want to be in agony. I feel like I can get that kick from other things, which don't
Right.
make me feel so bad. I'm willing to get addicted to plasmids because having superpowers would be awesome. That I mean, I love superheroes. Fuck it, I'll kill a few little girls if I have to. Like, so what? They're not real
Out
little
of
girls.
out of context comment of the week. Well done.
Well, there you go. And Jet, I'll dabble with Jet because I can use it every now and then to get that time moving slowly thing. That could be useful.
Okay, thanks for the answer. I'm going to be addicted to joy. Why not? Let's be happy. Let's feel absolutely spiffing all the time. Who doesn't want to feel absolutely spiffing? Who cares if your food isn't exactly what it smells like?
To be fair, you probably wouldn't care because you're so happy.
You're so happy. Yeah. I think it's the best of a bad bunch here. I think the plasmids, having those superpowers, I'll dabble with. And actually, Jet sounds like a good thing to be able to slow down time and just do things really quickly. Just for this case of efficiency, getting shit done. I think.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to
then you have more time to play with your plasmids.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm going to addicted to joy because who doesn't want to feel happy all the time? It'll make recording easier. Make recording videos for YouTube easier. Dabbling with Jet because then you could get the editing done really quick. Because you're super efficient, because you're faster than everyone. And then I'll just leave plasmids. I don't want to kill any young girls. There we go. There's my answer.
Okay, so what was your name? I've already forgotten your initials. Humvg 1994 said, personally, I'd become addicted to Jet because I have so much to do and hardly any time to do it. Yeah, it's a reasonable reason. That's stupid.
A reasonable reason.
I dabble in joy because depression isn't fun, and I'd abstain from plasmids because I've always felt sorry for the little sisters. Yeah, I mean, they're cute, but I'm addicted, and I need my power, man.
Cool. Thanks for the question, Mr. Vig. I'm gonna go with Vig. Yeah, and feel free to ask us another question next week. We've got 4 more to power through now. Suminder has the next one. This is my first question here, and it's a simple one. As the next-gen consoles are almost within our reach, what are the aspects of gaming that you would like to see improved with the increased power of new consoles? Improved graphics, animations, draw distance, and less loading times are obvious ones, but what other improvements do you think or wish would happen in next-gen games? Cheers! Consoles?
I'd like to buy a game and have a game that works and not have to pay for all the extra stuff that should be there as standard. That
a
would
complete
be nice.
game working day one.
It's a bit of a dream. Sort of cop-out answer.
That is a dream.
Yeah, it's a dream. It will never happen. It's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
I think I want people to be more innovative in using games specifically to tell their stories. Like, I really enjoy games like Uncharted and The Last of Us 2, to be fair, because they are very cinematic and very dramatic. But in terms of interactivity and being a game, they do leave a bit to be desired. But I'd like to see games use the fact that they are games to tell the story. Some stuff does it really, really well. I think God of War, despite that also being a very, very cinematic game, that does it in the sense of your relationship with Atreus, because he starts off being kind of useless and frustrating, but then by the end of it, because you've got this relationship with him and you know how he works, your bond with him is emotional because you connect to the character, but also practical in terms of gameplay because he can perform, he will tackle more enemies, he will shoot more arrows independently and behave more independently. So I think that's a really good example of how to do it in a quite small way, but I want to see it blow the roof off. Show us what games can really do in terms of storytelling.
Cool.
Because we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, and I think just performance overall. I think 60 frames a second, that's the obvious one, right? Draw distance doesn't bother me that much. Animations, yeah, that'd be good. Improved graphics, obviously. Less loading times. I can deal with 20, 30 seconds. It's no problem. It doesn't have to be instant. I mean, I'm an old school gamer. I'm used to that. But give me smooth gameplay. Give me 60 frames. That would be my number one thing. Thanks for your question, Mr. Saminda. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, this is from Metal Shark, and there is a companion part to it. Is there a papercraft video game, set piece papercraft diagrammer with a screen behind it you'd like to own? So from this link, that papercraft, it's like a thing, like not a game. It's something you have, like a collectible, right?
A papercraft game? No, it's is it?
Or is it actually a game?
It's a game that looks like made out of paper. Oh, I get you. Like
So is it a
something
game?
that you put on your wall, right? Something that you mount. Oh shit! Sorry, that's loud. We did research on the fly here.
So from what I quickly watched the thing, I think it is something that you have, like an ornament or something in the real world.
Thing, yeah. Right, yeah, I see. And then you got a controller and you interact with it, and it's just like, and it's moving around like a window into this little world. Yeah, they look cool. I've never really thought about it, so it's the one I'd like to own. Yeah, that'd be cool. The one I'm watching looks pretty cool.
I think anything with a good castle or something like that would be really good. Let me just quickly get this.
Yeah, it looks like it's one of those games where the set is the set, so it's just one screen. It reminds me of those old games where you've got like what do they call them? Those old like portable games where the screen was burnt in and you just like have one character and it was like black and white. I can't even remember what they're bloody called.
Yeah,
I played Donkey Kong. It reminds me of them where you can't change the scene. It's just like enemies coming at you and you've got things where yeah, it'd be cool to own as a novelty. I don't think I'd spend much time playing it, I'll be honest, but yeah, there you go. Thanks for raising our awareness of those things. I didn't even know they existed.
I think you could do a really cool haunted house type thing, but I don't know if any particular ones off the top of my head that I could think of.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe the house from Resident Evil. That could be cool.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for the question, Mel Shark. Next, Rage Andy Kid has another one. I have another. I was playing Star Wars New Order, great game, and story, but the ending was a flop, personally. What game do you think was amazing, but the ending let it down? Mass Effect is not included because that's way too easy a choice. And three games as it's hard to pick one, and how it could be improved if you like. Keep up the amazing work too. Any game ending that you could change?
I can't think of any, but I know there's loads.
Yeah, I mean, I know I mentioned it again. It's Red Dead Redemption. I don't like.
You change it?
Yeah, I mean, not the ending where you've just got to not be John, right?
Yeah, can I keep that ending of the dramatic moment of what happens?
Yeah,
and then not have to play as Jack? Can I stay as John? That's why I like it in some open world games. They reset you. So once you finish the story, they reset you to just before the final mission. Can that be it?
Let us do that. I think that's a reasonable answer, because I think we had this question a couple of weeks ago, and I answered Mass Effect. That was the obvious cop out, and he wasn't having it. It was Rage Andy Kid. He wants another answer. How about yourself?
I know there's definitely one recently, but I just can't for the life of me remember what it was.
Yeah.
It was one of those endings where it felt like I kind of wasted my time. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I'll try and
blanking right now, but that's fine.
Guess.
It's been a long podcast. Let's move on to the very last question of this podcast.
Okay, here we go. This is Leads. I guess no longer titty Leads.
Drop the titties. No more
Drop
titties.
the titty. They sag too low. Okay. I think this is a multiple tier question. What would you bring back from gaming past? One for each.
Everything.
Okay, so the first one is
everything.
One game/game series. What game or game series would you bring back? I was never even a massive fan of it, but I just loved the concept, and I really liked one in particular. But I bring back Red Faction.
Yeah.
Bring back a game where I can just destroy buildings. No game ever has the same level of environmental destruction as Red Faction did.
Yeah.
And it was their kind of gimmick. The stories wasn't that great or anything, but it was just really fun to blow up buildings. and especially with next gen on the doorstep, we've got all this power. Surely someone can figure it out. Surely.
Good answer. But the game I would bring back, or the game series I would bring back, would be Fallout, because that fucking died, didn't it?
It didn't just die. It was murdered.
It was murdered. Yeah, I'd bring back Fallout or Mass Effect. Give us another Mass Effect game and do it right. God, that's on ice, isn't it? The Mass Effect series. Give me a good Mass Effect game again. Yeah, that's a decent answer. So next part, bring back a company or dev. Oh God.
Company or dev? Maybe. Who was the one they were doing the Star Wars one with Amy Hennig? Was it Visceral? Bring back Visceral so we can get that Star Wars game, which looks well. I mean, it sounded cool from what they said, but we didn't really see anything, so I can't say it looked good.
Yeah,
and Amy Hennig's involved. She's brilliant.
I think. Let me have a look at this. I think mine would be, some of my best games were made by Bullfrog Games. So we're talking Theme Hospital. Sorry, my camera's gone off again. Click. Thank you. We're talking Theme Hospital, Theme Park, Populous, Syndicate. You know, a lot of great games from back in the day, but they are no longer around. I guess 2 Point Hospital, is it them making that now? Well, Peter Molyneux isn't there obviously anymore.
I would like to refresh my answer, and it's in a similar vein because it's Star Wars-y. Bring back LucasArts.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
It's the worst thing Disney has done with Star Wars. You can dislike the movies and all the SJW agenda or whatever, but the worst thing, in my opinion, that they've done is immediately shut down LucasArts as soon as they bought them.
Yeah.
It's just devastating.
Good answer. I've got another one on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of the name of him. So I'm going to have to move on. Thanks for the question. Oh, next part. Console or gameplay item. Game Boy controller, etc. Console, gameplay item. I think they can all stay in the fucking past.
Yeah, I'm not that fussed about the gameplay item, like peripherals and shit. Never really been my thing.
Okay, there we go. They can all stay in the past. And next, other things from gaming you'd like to bring back. I would like to bring back. I like to bring back the good old fashioned pay for a game, buy a full game. That notion of you don't have to pay for extras. That would be perfect. And I just turn the internet off, right? Not allow games to ever connect to the internet. That would be perfect. That means you have to get the game ready on day one. There's no day one patch. Yeah, you get the game out you put it in the machine, whatever, and you play the game as it was meant, as it went gold. You know, you've got no chance to fix it. You've got no excuses then, have you? And you've got all these additional, we're just going to patch the game because we forgot to do this bit. I'm just going to, just going to patch this other bit and break some more stuff. No, none of that shit. Bring back old, that's my rant for the week done. Bring back the old mentality. Old school.
That's the easy one we touched on earlier as well. I'll go for a more romantic and soppy one. I miss video game manuals. I'm one of the 11 people who still buys physical games, and it's really, you open a game now and it's just the disc, which most of the time needs to have a 50 gigabyte update to even run anyway. But I used to love having the manual, and not just here's controls, here's your legal shit. You get a little character bio and little things about the story and Easter eggs a lot of the time, but sometimes you get a behind the scenes note from the developer. Bring that shit back. Cyberpunk's doing it as standard, I think, right? With the default,
regular
vanilla edition of whatever.
Edition.
Yeah. You get in all this extra crap, but I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. Good answer. Thanks everybody for your questions this week. And if you want to leave a question for us for next week's podcast, leave them in the podcast questions and topics Discord channel. That's what I'm pointing. It's on my screen there. That's what I'm pointing. So let's move on now to what we have adapted from the Triggered Fanboy. It's going to be called this week the Hoity Toity Comments of the Week. Right,
so this comes from yesterday's video, and oftentimes if I find someone who posts something I think is a bit silly or I don't agree with, I'll look it up through YouTube Studio, see if they've posted anything else. And I don't think this person's particularly unreasonable. That's why I don't really think they're triggered fanboy or what was the other one? Dumb fucking dipshit. They don't really qualify as either of them.
It's just a
But this is a comment
hoity-toity.
I don't. It's hoity-toity. It's a little bit entitled, but I'm sure this person's a fine person. But so this is yesterday's video, which was about some Star Wars Battlefront 2 fans are begging EA to produce more content and are even offering to pay for it, which is something I never thought I would see, especially not for that fucking game. So the comment is from a chap called Perry Banks, and as I said, he's commented a few different times. So and the final story in that video, well, one of the two final stories, because he had an extra one in there, was there was the Last of Us trailer. That was it. That was the extent of it. There was no other information. Just here's a trailer. Joel's in it. That's it. Okay, I really don't think you can comment on The Last of Us 2 if you haven't seen the leaks. Most people know what the spoilers... Yeah, so I'm not reading that incorrectly, that's just poorly written. Most people know what the spoilers, so you just sound misinformed. If you report on game news, don't be selfish. Do your job and get informed, then report the news. So, as I said, I'm sure you're a reasonable person. Some of your other comments are a bit more reasonable. But this comment, I think, is...
Hoity-toity.
Because I think this comment is hoity-toity. But if you report on game news, don't be selfish. Again, with this, we're providing you free content. Obviously, if you're a loyal Patreon supporter, you're choosing to pay to support us, and we greatly appreciate that. But for the most people, what we are producing is completely free of charge, and you don't have to do anything apart.
You're
from
welcome.
click.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, and
You're welcome.
Selfish. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not,
way off base,
yes,
isn't it?
I mean, I'm not even really going to dispute it. I don't want to ruin a game for myself.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm selfish, and I have the principle of if I am excited about a game, I don't want to look at leaks. I want to look at it the way the creators intended, because there's something called context, which I personally think is important. If adhering to my principles makes me selfish, then okay. Do your job and get informed, then report the news. So I am obliged to ruin my gaming experience because you did too, because you know what the spoilers are.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to throw it you completely opposite. I think we have a responsibility to not talk about the leaks like that and not spoil it for people.
Yeah.
Because most people aren't going to look at the spoilers. A lot of the loudest voices will, but most, the common man won't give a shit. They won't be up to date on gaming news. They're just a bloke, 9-to-5 job. He comes home, wants to play a video game, kill some zombies, have some fun. He's not going to give a fuck about leaks. He probably doesn't even know they exist. I don't want to spoil a game for someone like that. I don't want to ruin what could be someone's game of the year. I'm not saying it's my game of the year. I'm not even saying it's going to be voted that. But to someone, it's going to be the greatest game of all time. And I don't want to ruin that. I don't think that's being selfish. And I don't think it's me not being informed. I am informed. And I know a few spoilers. And I'm choosing not to engage with anymore. Because I don't want to ruin it for myself or other people. And I think, personally, I've done a pretty damn good job of covering all of this Last of Us shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I've been totally unbiased, because I have deliberately given my opinion on certain things. Like I personally am more in line with the hacker angle than the disgruntled employee angle, because I think one is more reliable than the other. But I think I've done a pretty damn good job of covering everything without spoiling anything.
No, I totally agree. Personally. You've done a stellar job. And for that, I think it is appreciated by a majority of people who don't want it spoiled either. For those people who like to get angry on the internet, we are sorry. We are not going to fuel your anger on this one. We're not going to. We're just not. Just go somewhere else if you want that sort of spewage. We're not going to spew that on the internet. So, just three things wrong with this. He's off base to begin with. I don't really think you can comment on The Last of Us 2 if you haven't seen the leaks. Yes,
you can't comment on it. You haven't played it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a good point. In fact, you haven't played it and you can comment, so you know all about it. Nah, bullshit. Yes, we can comment on it, leaks, as long as we preface it with the fact that we say we haven't heard the leaks, so you know exactly where we're coming from. So our opinion is framed with the fact we don't know the leaks. So you know that straight off. We've said that, right?
Yeah.
So we sound misinformed. We've already admitted we don't want to be spoiled, and we're not going to spoil it. So yeah, we are misinformed. It's not a bad thing in this case. It's not a bad thing to be misinformed about spoilers of a game. If you're reporting a game, don't be selfish. That's just trash. So that isn't selfish at all. Do your job and get informed, then report the news. Our job is to report the news, okay? The leaks themselves aren't the news. What happened and how the leaks were leaked, that is news.
Yeah.
What the story of the game is, that's not news. That is not news. That is rumor. That is opinion. That is trash. Okay? That isn't really important in the grand scheme of things. We are reporting the fact that the game got leaked and the facts to do with the leak, how Sony reacted, this and that. This is reporting. These are facts. How we feel about a story in a game, that's not news, that's opinion, that's bullshit. So don't confuse what is essentially fact with opinion. Go somewhere else if you want somebody else's vile spewage about how bad this game has been ruined by like certain agendas or whatever. That isn't this channel. Go somewhere else, Perry. We respect you, but we disagree. So there you go.
That's it.
Done.
And unfortunately, there was another comment on a similar thing. I don't think it was this video, but it was another one. Again, it was about The Last of Us, but the motherfucker deleted it. I tried to find it again, but he deleted it. He had a go at me saying something like, how the fuck can you put the leaks in your video with a middle finger emoji? And I've not really been commenting back to a lot of comments recently, especially Last of Us stuff, because immediately someone's then going to see that and jump in, use it as an opportunity. So I commented back saying, these aren't leaks. This is publicly available footage.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, basically. And there's just use your brain. If like all of this stuff has been available for months, perhaps you haven't been looking at it, which is fair enough. But it's not leaks. If it was leaks, I would have said so. Perhaps the precedent has been set by the rest of YouTube for not spoiler tagging things properly. That's another thing. Another comment says that if I'm talking about anything to do with The Last of Us, it should say no spoilers because the person was too scared. And I was like, I get what you're trying to say, but that title on that particular video was at 98 out of 100 characters. I couldn't put it in. I could maybe put NS, but that would not mean... No, it's not happening.
There you go. So that was the first inaugural Hoity Toity comment of the week. Thank you. Let's move on to some other comments. I only got a couple this week. So first up, Lightning Slayer commented on yesterday's video where Cyberpunk was like one of the very last in a daily triple with 4. I mean, God, I leave you alone for 5 minutes and you put 4 stories in a daily triple, Henry. My God.
5 minutes? It's been fucking 5 weeks of this lockdown.
All right, I exaggerated. So. Yeah, I mean, they'll become expecting more than 3 every single time now. And then when you don't, they'll be disappointed. They'll get all angry. They'll end up cancelling us or whatever the internet people do these days. I don't know. Anyway, it's just a bad precedent to set is all I'm saying, Henry. Be careful. Anyway, on that video, Lightning Slayer comments, Cyberpunk is going to be a jungle of cringe.
Oh, yeah, that's... Talking
about
the
of cringe,
the penis, forgive me, genital customization.
You can customize the side. It's going to be a jungle of cringe. It's not going to be cringe because using that expression isn't childish enough. It's a jungle of cringe, an entire jungle with like snakes of cringe and like what, like tigers of cringe and like apes of cringe.
Tigers and bears.
All sorts of poisonous fruits of cringe. Everything you can imagine that's in a jungle of cringe. It's going to be Cyberpunk.
I mean, if you don't like or don't want to customize your genitals in Cyberpunk, you don't have to. I don't see how any new feature that like this that doesn't take away from anything else can possibly be a bad thing. We've given you an extra level of control over your character.
Cringe.
That's not a bad thing. The fact that it's penis or vagina or boobs or whatever, there's nothing to do with it.
Exactly. So, do you have a question?
Right, I've got one here from the Assassin's Creed trailer video talking about face harsh choices. And so this one made me laugh. I think their name has got 3's instead of E's and a PH instead of an F, but I think it's supposed to say "Fear my leet skills," and it's one of the most ridiculous usernames I've seen in a while. So this says, and it's timestamp. I think I said something like, Vikings aren't particularly known for their stealth tactics, and being an Assassin's Creed game, that's a barrier they're going to have to get through. Vikings not known about their stealth tactics because they were so good at it, no one would see them using it. I just thought it was funny. It's like, we're so stealthy, history hasn't even figured out how stealthy we were.
So
Every major death
out,
around the time. Yeah.
That was great. I have one other comment. You're rolling up on 2 hours now, so I think we should keep these brief. Cow in Space says on yesterday's video again, remember when multiplayer games allowed you to host your own servers so that the publisher couldn't just end your ability to play it? Oh, do I remember? And like, we had questions about what we'd bring back. I would end, having like public servers in that way, so that you could just hire a server. Like, that's the reason I stopped playing Call of Duty, was because they went all consolified and they had their private servers on their thing, and we couldn't have public servers, private servers that we could host ourselves. They took control of all the servers. I think it was which one was it? Call of Duty Black Ops 2 or 3. I fail to remember. My memory's so shit. But there was a time where they took off control from PC players and they were all consolified, just so that they could, at one point, just turn off all the servers, so that forced people to go from the one Call of Duty entry to the next Call of Duty. You can't play that multiplayer game anymore. You've got to buy the newest one because we're in control of all the servers. Motherfuckers. Yeah, definitely. That it's just that comment resonated with me, so I thought I'd read it out. Do you have any more?
I've got one final one here. And it's on yesterday's video about Battlefront 2 fans petitioning to add paid content. And it did turn into a little bit of a fight between two people arguing about it, but I can't be asked to read through that. And I just thought this was the funniest version of this sort of comment from Kajan451. Find everyone that signed that petition and take away their PC or console. You wouldn't let people drunk drive, would you? So it's time to get these fools some help. Then people started arguing, actually, it's the best Star Wars game, we just want more content, blah, blah. I was like, all right, fucking whatever, no one gives a shit. I just thought that was funny.
It was an interesting one, that, because there are a lot of people who are really upset that Battlefront 2 is being pulled now, because a lot of people enjoy it, and more power to them, honestly. If they can get enjoyment out of it, then that's all for the good. And the people who are shitting on it, I mean, I can understand both sides of the story, but it is a shame that people who do love the game, having paid full price for it and enjoyed it for so many hours, aren't getting any more support, that they feel resorted to want to give EA money. I don't know how low that... I can't imagine being that low. I can't imagine feeling that bad in my life, where I'd want EA to take money from me. Anyway, with all that said, let's move on to the final segment of this week. This is the bad dad joke of the week.
Let's do it. I'm getting really hot here.
Why couldn't the archaeologist get promoted?
I don't know. Why couldn't the archaeologist get promoted?
Because her career was in ruins. Ta-da!
Oh, dear.
Good. Anyway, there we go. That ties up a nice podcast. That is the end of podcast number 61. If you've listened all this way to this podcast, and then you must absolutely love what we do, or at least able to tolerate our voices for almost 2 hours, then
watch it just to laugh.
Yeah, just laugh at us. Then
look at these dickheads.
You're probably of the mindset that we should continue doing what we do. And if you do want to support, continuing what we do, then please consider heading over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, because it really makes a difference. And yeah, I know some people think, YouTubers, they're making all this money. We are really not making a load of money off YouTube. That is the harsh reality, right? This channel knows more than any other channel the harsh reality of the fluctuations of monetization on YouTube. So if you really want to make a difference, please head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and we will continue. That's all I've got to say. So there you go. Thanks to Henry for his continued sustaining of this content over this period. He doesn't get appreciated enough for all of it. Obviously, I'm busy on my guitar channel, but Henry, just like a trooper, throwing out these videos day in, day out, doesn't get enough thanks. So I'd like to, on behalf of everybody, Henry, thank you so much for continuing to fight the good fight and deliver the PGG on a daily basis. And with that, on behalf of Henry and I,
my ego.
You're welcome. On behalf of Henry and I, we will see you again in the next one. Until then, bye for now.